At this time, I want to welcome our illustrious leader for 2010 and beyond, Steve Flanagan.
Well, it is indeed a good crowd, and I want to thank everybody again for coming. It's interesting, it's finally 2010. Last year was their year, this year is ours. We've had a heck of an impact. Conservative Society for Action was the organization that started the first town hall protest. That was against Mr. Timothy Bishop, 1st Congressional District candidate. We actually had a simple goal. Well, it wasn't simple in execution, but it was simple in concept. The concept was this. We wanted to make incumbents vulnerable. All too long in the history of this country, incumbents have had the advantage. They have the advantage of being here and being there and access to groups and access to television, media, and everything else. I think we've changed that. We want to make incumbency a disadvantage. We need to hold these people's feet to the fire. And the way we do that is by holding them accountable. And the ultimate means of holding an elected official accountable is by throwing them out of office if they don't represent us. And I just want to start off this meeting here by just reviewing a couple of things that we've done recently. It's been a little bit quiet in the last month only because it's been holiday season. But I'll tell you, it had nothing to do with the weather. We were out there on some pretty cold days to make our points. One of those days was a protest that we held against our Attorney General, Mr. Holder. How many people were there for that protest? This guy figured he would come down and visit his family and have a nice little quiet Sunday afternoon at church, make a little announcement to his friends and his family. His sister goes there, his mother goes there. Well, guess what? There were about 175 people in the rain and the cold waiting for him that day. We definitely and vehemently opposed the concept of non-military trials for terrorists in this country. And I guess I kind of forgot that we actually have someone from the press here tonight. PBS is shooting a documentary right now. What they're doing a documentary about is the county executive race that just took place. The win with Mr. Mangano, which was quite interesting. I think what's happening is that people in politics today understand what's happening. It's organizations like us and people like us that made the difference and pulled off one of the most stunning upset victories in Nassau County history. And we should all be proud of what we did that day because we're the ones that did it. We have people here who are willing to go out in the cold, in the rain, 95-degree weather in the summertime, and sub-freezing temperatures in the wintertime. We've never been deterred. It's unbelievable the resolve that we have. And we all have to understand that because of us and because of what we've been able to do and demonstrate, that we're encouraging others like us to step forward. There's a lot of people out there who, when they hear about this organization or they talk to their family and friends who are involved in it, are thankful. Thank God, finally, there's some place I can go. Instead of yelling at the television, stomping my feet, and yelling and screaming in private. They're no longer afraid to do it in school. We got a lot of young people here tonight. I'm hearing stories now of young people in high schools and colleges that are not afraid to stand up. Beginning of January, as the calendar turned, we had a new county executive in Nassau County. An incredible upset victory, as all of you know. I listened to Mr. Mangano on an interview he did with News 12. And it was interesting, because I think I heard the word restraint cuts, budget control, reduction in spending. I mean, an entirely, I don't know, I haven't heard it in Nassau in a decade, that there's somebody out there that actually wants to create an administration that wants to say no. No. No to increased spending. No to increases in government. No to increased limits on business. So, I'm hoping that there's a change going on there. I was very interested to see that interview. I'd urge anybody to go to News 12 if they can. Look up that interview and just look at the tenor of the conversation. Because if this country doesn't learn to use the word no when it comes to spending, when it comes to new legislation, when it comes to, what? Buying votes? I don't know. The words extortion come to mind. I mean, you're telling me that there are people in the Congress of the United States? Well, I guess I shouldn't say that with an inflection like a question mark. There are people in the Congress of the United States that have a big for sale sign on their head. And we all know it, and we've all seen it, and we're reading about it. It's corruption on a massive level. And what's even worse is they're buying their votes with your money. There were a couple of other things I'm going to run through pretty quick. We also went to Huntington. They had the swearing in of the new council members there in Huntington. But the first conservative Republican was elected in Huntington Town in a decade. First one. Unbelievable. And we went there to, because a couple of our members went up there to just, congratulate him and all that. And the supervisor there, Mr. Patron, he went up and made his speech. Thank you very much for electing me again. I've been here 12 years, and I'll be here another 4. And thank God my friend sitting right next to me is here tonight, Mr. Congressman Steve Israel. If it wasn't for him, he says, we would not have been able to balance our budget. Thank God for that stimulus money. And he actually turned to him like this, with his hand like this, and said, Steve, we're going to need more of that stimulus money this year. No word on cuts, controls, reduced spending, nothing of the sort. Where can we go to find the money? We're going to go to the federal government to find the money. We're going to go to the state to find the money. We're not going to have any fiscal restraint whatsoever. We're going to spend what we have to spend, and we're going to look to our Mr. Congressman over here to do it. Well, we have to elect congressmen who will say no. And that's one of the reasons we're here. And I know there are people in this room who want to run for those offices, and we're going to make sure that they're willing to say no before we give them any of our kind of support. Now, just a couple of things behind the scenes, so people who know what's going on. A lot of things happen that that aren't happening in a meeting. A lot of people can't make some of the things that are going on weekends. A lot of people can't make it to the organizational meetings. We've been meeting constantly with a lot of the political leaders, trying to make sure that the appropriate candidates are selected for the congressional campaigns and races. We've been successful at trying to weaken a lot of the campaigns. For instance, in the 1st Congressional District, our concept there was to weaken the candidate to the point that it would attract money and candidates into the district. We have been tremendously successful. There's about a half a dozen credible candidates that can raise large sums of money in that particular race. Basically, this group already achieved 95% of its goal in that particular race. We made that person a multiple-term incumbent so vulnerable that money and candidates are pouring into that district. We intend to do the same thing in Steve Israel's district and in Carolyn McCarthy's district.